Hello, and welcome to the Real Hernando, a podcast created to highlight our amazing local community and small businesses right here in Hernando, Mississippi. I am your host, Derek, and this episode is brought to you by Shelby Productions. Today, I'm talking with Jeremy and Bre Odom, owners of J&B Candle Company. They sell handcraft candles, goat's milk soap, body butters, and sugar scrubs, and they're located at 3016 Highway 51, Suite 101, right here in Hernando, Mississippi. Jeremy, Bre, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, I've heard a lot about y'all. For some I would say, mutual friends.
Believe half of what you hear.
I believed only 25%.
Good, good. We're definitely good.
And when I started this, you guys were on my radar for sure. I wanted to come meet y'all, and we did. We met a few weeks ago, and we're finally here. And this is good stuff. I'm here to get your story and just how this came to be, and all these amazing candles behind us. And I don't know where the sugar scrubs are. What does a sugar scrub even look
So
like?
they're back here on this wall.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. They're the second shelf down.
So to paint the picture for the listeners, because a lot of people don't watch this because it's on YouTube, but most people just listen. So as you walk in, to your left, you got two shelves of candles.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, you got the, what are those, the body baths?
So as you walk in the shop on your left, you have on the top shelf, you have 8-ounce candles. On the bottom, you have 12-ounce. And then you go to the shelf immediately after that. At the very top, you have body butters that are made with avocados. The next shelf, you have our sugar scrubs. Then we have muscle rub as well as beard oils. And then you have wax melts at the very end of the wall.
I have a feeling you felt it was very important to have
Very much so.
beard oils.
That was my one input on this whole
And
situation.
Bre did everything else?
Pretty much. That's the one say I had.
So, look, where y'all from originally? You guys grew up in Hernando, or where y'all from?
I'm from Walls, Mississippi.
Okay, yeah.
So I grew up in Horn Lake, and that's where I
Okay.
graduated from.
So, right, neighboring towns, I'm guessing that's how y'all met?
We met, yes, I was in 8th grade and she was in 6th. That's when we met.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Look at this stud.
A
over
long
here.
time ago.
Oh, come on, not that long ago.
Look,
I bet it was longer for me.
well, we've been, let's see, 8th grade and 6th grade, we've been off and on since.
Wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. Good for y'all. That's
Very
awesome. I'm sure it was perfect the whole time, right?
Perfect. It's been good.
So you graduate, obviously 2 years before Bre here,
Yes, sir.
but after y'all are out of school and everything, what was the career path? What were y'all doing,
Well, it's kind of different because we did everything backwards. We found out we were having her while she was still in we found out we were having our oldest child now that's in middle school when she was still in high school. So we did everything backwards. So my first thought was, crap, I've got to man up. So I went to a trade school and I did that for the last 10 plus years until we went in self-employment.
What was the trade?
I did air conditioning and appliances.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And meanwhile, you were
I just graduated high school and then I stayed at home with the kids
raising the
because we
baby.
kept having more kids.
How many kids do y'all have now?
4.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
Good for you.
Yeah.
4 kids and starting a business. You guys are bored, aren't you?
Never. Never.
So tell me more about how you're working in this industry, air conditioning. What was it? Say that again. What was it?
So air conditioning and appliances.
Appliances.
And then I did like building maintenance and stuff throughout the years as well.
Okay. So from the pre-interview that we met, COVID has a part in this, right?
Yeah.
So and anyone that knows this show now knows that this is not a political thing.
Right.
We're not here to talk about vaccines and masks, right?
Right.
But COVID is in any small business's point of view interesting in the sense of how did people handle it.
Right.
You guys, it basically catapulted you, right?
Yes.
So what happens when COVID first hits?
So basically, I was working for Bass Pro. I was doing building maintenance for Bass Pro.
Okay.
I got furloughed. The job came to me and said, hey, we got to let you go. They basically said 90 days for sure, with the potential of us not bringing you back. So my first thought was, this isn't good. You know, having 4 kids, a wife, I was like, I've got to do something. So that summer, you know, I started up a lawn service just to kind of make some extra money to get through the year. And then as we got closer to that 90 days, I started getting the feeling that I was going to go back. But I told her, I said, I don't want to be put in this situation again. I don't want it to be somebody else that determines whether we make ends meet or, you know, and I told her, I said, if we're going to do something, we need to do that.
He's always wanted to work for himself.
Always. I mean, I haven't struggled with working for people. It's hard to work with other people whenever you have supervisors that shouldn't be in those positions.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something I've always struggled with.
So leading up to when you made this decision,
Yes.
had you ever, even in the slightest way, ever been like a sole contractor or freelance anything where you were kind of on your own, or were you always in like a W-4 type of job?
So most of what I did was working for other companies, but I would do side work on my own.
Okay.
But not as much. I just did it for extra money.
Just little side hustles here
Right.
and there. So,
Yes, sir.
so you making this decision having never owned a business.
Right.
Yeah. So what was that first step? So you realize this isn't going to happen. I'm not working for the man anymore.
Right.
What was that first idea you had? Was it candles immediately, or was it something different?
So here's the funny thing. The whole candle started, we were watching a movie one night, and we were watching a Hallmark movie. I'll admit it was during the holidays.
Was there tissues laying around anywhere?
For her, maybe, not for me. I was just watching it to make my wife happy. But anyways, so we're watching a Hallmark movie, and then I looked on our table, and there was this fancy jar that she had for decorations. And I was like, man, that'd be cool to make a candle.
So then he started researching how to make candles.
For like the next 4 hours, I just started watching YouTube videos and just started kind of seeing what all was involved in making candles. So then that night, I placed an order for material to start making candles. Little did I know there's so much more to it. But that's where it started, was watching a movie, seeing a bottle, and having an idea.
So that's a quick turnaround. Like,
Yeah.
this might be a neat idea. YouTube. Okay, I'm ordering supplies.
That's me, though.
He's a go-getter.
I'm a spur of the moment. Like, a lot of, now, I don't make any decisions without praying or anything like that. But
Okay.
I'm also one of them, when I have an idea and I want to pursue it,
He's going to go for it.
I go for it. I'm not afraid to take chances.
You absolutely need that to be a
Right.
business owner, an entrepreneur, self-employed. You need that self-motivation,
Right.
which is, because I'm the same way.
Right.
I've been in various ways self-employed for a long time. And anytime I did have a normal job, it was
Right.
like a wild dog in a cage. I couldn't handle it, But that's
I
where
understand.
but
Very
that's
much
where
so.
that's where the common threads lie, though, is if you're that way and then you decide you want to start your own thing, you don't need someone telling you what the next thing is to do.
Right.
And you go after it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say Amazon is, Santa Claus coming in and giving you these candle accessories. What's the first thing you realize that you're like, oh, was it like, what did I get myself into? You said it was a lot harder than you realized. What was that first?
The hardest part for me wasn't the business side of it. It was actually perfecting how to make them.
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
We're just talking about the candles right now.
Right, right.
When you get all the supplies in, and you're like, wow, this is real now. I got to make this thing. What was that first week, 2 weeks? What was that experience like?
So I thought it was easy when we first started making them until we started doing the test batches. So when we first started making them, it's like, oh, this is nothing. They make it look easy. And then you start actually testing them and you realize, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. So what is a bad candle? It just doesn't burn right? Doesn't smell
there's,
right?
There's so, I mean, yeah,
You can
everything.
have the wrong size wick. You can
mean-
have too much scent.
Yeah, everything that you just mentioned, yes, and more.
So you can have one that's just too strong.
You can have them too strong. You can have them where there's too much fragrance, which makes the flames too big. You can have the wrong type of wax that makes it not put off smell.
Certain wax and wicks go better together.
Was there any
So-
point you almost burned your house down?
No, thankfully.
Too much fragrance in this one.
I mean,
The
no.
flame is hitting the ceiling.
I mean, we had to throw some boxes away. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How long do you think it took you to be confident and be like, yeah, I just made a great candle here?
It took us 8 months.
8 months? That is some determination.
It took us 8 months, and it took us almost quitting before we finally, I had tried everything. Again, there's a lot to it.
8
Percentages
months
of
is a
fragrance.
long time. I mean, I would have quit after a month.
Now you got to think about it. We were also working jobs, so it wasn't a full-time thing at that point.
Right.
So
But-
it was kind of 8 months periodically over time.
But you've been furloughed by this time, right? So
Yes.
now you're just working other part-time jobs or just whatever.
Hey,
you
Well, so I was furloughed, and then we started this during the furlough. So then after the 90 days, I did get to go back.
can. Oh, okay.
So this was kind of part-time and learning how to do it as I went back full-time.
Awesome.
But during that 8 months, we focused pretty heavily on getting it right.
Yeah.
And it took that long to finally get it right.
But you planted the seed at the right time.
Yes.
So you were like, okay, we have our jobs now. We can
Yes.
fall back on that.
Well, we never looked at it as a fallback. We looked at it as, okay, this gives us 6 months to a year to figure out something.
Yeah.
Because I knew at that point when I wanted to go self-employed, I was going to do something.
So you're like, we made a candle.
Right.
Now, how do you start producing on a mass level? Even before, we'll get to the store here, but from what I've gathered, there was a moment where you were running a business out of your house, right?
Yes.
So even before that, even before thinking of how to sell these things, how do you go from one candle to making 100, right?
Well, we were only able to make like 4 at a time in our house.
That's
It
what I'm
wasn't
saying.
until we got in the store that we were able to make multiple at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It would literally, if we made, so when we go to shows, we would make like 100 candles at a time. It would take us 4 or 5 days to make enough candles to go to shows. That doesn't include labeling them.
Right.
I mean, we're talking 4 candles at a time. Each batch takes about an hour for 4 candles. I mean, we were spending hours and hours. Thankfully, when we got in the store, we got some machines that made it a lot easier.
Oh, there you go.
But
Yeah.
at the house, it took a lot of time.
So you said shows. Were you going to like farmers markets
Oh, yeah.
or trade shows? And-
So we were going to A Fair, Water Tower, several shows in Horn Lake.
Flea market in Batesville.
I mean, we pretty much went everywhere that would accept us, basically.
yeah. Anyone that would let you come.
Anybody that would let us come get our name out there is what we were doing.
And are you going to be in the farmers market this year?
Hopefully.
And
We
for,
have
for
applied.
context, it's 2022.
Yes,
Who
yes.
knows when someone's listening to
Yes.
this?
So
yeah.
we have reached out, and if they have enough farmers sign up, I'm hoping we can get in. Right now, we're on a waiting list,
Cool.
but
Well,
the plan is to get in there.
I'll be out there. Hopefully, I'll see you. I'll after I get my cucumbers,
Right.
I'll come by and buy a candle.
Sounds good. That sounds good.
So how long is it that you're self-producing this stuff at home, small batch, if you will, and going to these trade shows? How much time was that? Was it a year that you were doing that, or
So we've been doing this about 2.5 years.
before the store?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking 2019-ish.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. COVID.
So COVID
Yeah.
started it. So really, we started pushing it heavy about 8 months to a year after COVID.
COVID hit. Yeah.
That's when we got it figured out. That's when we started realizing, okay, we've got something that is a good product.
Right.
Until then, we couldn't push it. So we kind of had to get it right. And then we decided, hey, let's do this.
So at the trade shows and the farmers market and everything, you could tell people were interested. They're buying it up.
Right.
Did it start breaking into like word of mouth? Or now people are starting to call you like, hey,
Yeah, very much so.
is that the spark that made you say, maybe we can get a store?
Honestly, no. For me, it was after several shows, we would have people walk up to us and say, hey, I bought from y'all at this event. I bought from y'all at this show. And then they kept buying from us. So yes, we would have people reach out to us intermittently after each show, but when we would see many people walk up and say, I've bought from y'all before and I love it, that is kind of what sparked, okay, hey, let's take this from just this event to now where we can make it accessible every day.
So do you have the thought, but then you have to put pen to paper and really
Yes.
figure it out? What was your first step in moving forward on getting some kind of brick and mortar?
Honestly, we don't know. It just, I mean, again, we go back to the whole praying before we do everything. We were very close to being ready to be in a brick and mortar store, but hadn't quite made that decision yet.
Yeah.
So again, we did a bunch of prayer and everything before we decided to do anything. And right when we got ready, this store opened up. I mean, it was literally a week before we were like, hey, we're officially good to go. Let's start looking for a building. And then all of a sudden, boom, this store opened up. Like, it was that quick.
So this location just happened to free up?
It did. Within a week from us saying we're ready to go.
Were you already looking at this place, or
No,
you just discovered, hey, a place opened up, let's go talk to them?
pretty much. I mean, it was one of those where we had been talking about it, praying about it, saying, hey, if we're going to give this a shot, now's the time to do it.
And we really wanted to be in
In Hernando.
here, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we had been praying about it, and it was like, hey, let's see if there's any stores available. And then right when we said, hey, it's time, this building opened up.
Building opened right up and they let you in?
Right.
Yeah, they approved you on the lease? That's awesome.
It was very quick.
Because I would gather the place can be open, but they might not lease it to anybody, right? So what kind of process was that as far as?
Basically, we went to there was a realtor that kind of oversaw for the managing partners and stuff here. So we went to him, and we had to apply for it and all that, told him what we sold, told him what we did. And once we applied, he gave it to the managers or whatever, and they were like, hey, yeah, we'd like to have a candle and soap company here. And pretty much from there, it was as soon as we can get you all the money,
Yeah.
it was time to start.
So when did you, we'll talk about the ribbon cutting when
Right.
the doors opened,
Right.
but when did you start moving in?
So we got this store, October? Middle October. And we came in and we did all the renovations. We had some friends and family that came and helped, put everything up, the wall up, the shelves up. So for
Paint
about
the floors.
paint the floors, paint the walls.
Yeah.
It took us about 3 weeks to 4 weeks before we were like, hey, we're ready to go. And then we opened on Black Friday.
So you mentioned you have a machine to help you.
Yeah.
So in order to open up a store with shelves full of candles,
Yeah.
did you get the machine first, or was the first stocking of this store all small batch after small batch after small batch?
Thankfully, we got the machine, even though that got delayed about 2 weeks longer than it was supposed to. We got the machine about a week and a half before we were supposed to open.
So the sweat starting to come down.
Yeah, it was getting chaotic, and thankfully
we were
I had
here till like 4 a.m. one night.
So
just
no,
stocking.
the day before we opened. Yeah, the day before we opened, we were here till 10. The night before, so we're talking Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving night, we were here till 10. The day before Thanksgiving, we were here till 4 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to open up.
Because by now you've announced it, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have an
we
announcement,
had it.
you get
Yeah.
the ribbon cutting, the whole thing.
Yeah, it
We had
was.
3 kids sleeping under our checkout desk.
And we had one kid that we found a note she wrote, the oldest, Kaylee, that's in middle school. She wrote a note, said, I'm never coming back here. Because, we were here all night. Yeah.
Man, the stress is on,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, once you make the announcement, it's official.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely the hard line in the sand right there.
So up until the doors open, what was the funnest experience you all had through that journey?
It wasn't really fun. It was stressful.
Stressful, yeah.
But I think just being able to do it like as a family, like have our kids up here, it's just nice to, have the family involved. And my sister was up here helping us stock shelves and stuff. Just family. It was
Yeah.
nice and fun to have that.
And that's why Hernando's so special,
Right.
because there's over 100 places like this.
Right.
It's so amazing in such a small area. And in retrospect, you can be like, that was hard, but you can look at like this, but it's special.
Right.
Can you guys sit back a little bit and appreciate yourselves, like give yourself some credit on what you've accomplished? Because I know it's hard. It's hard to see the forest through the trees sometimes, because you're always feeling like you're one bad sale away from failing, or it's so risky. I mean, small business is tough,
Right.
But can you guys sit back and take a deep breath and be like, wow, we did this?
I try to occasionally just to remind myself, but I also can't get in that mindset of letting that be normal.
Yeah.
So we don't live far from here. We live like 5 minutes. So the first thing that hit me was when we drove just going into the square down in Hernando, Walmart or something. I saw our sign on the, right above the doors, and it was just like, it's official, So for me, it was kind of at that moment, but I try not to live in that moment because there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, you got to keep growing.
Yeah.
And you guys grew at a fast pace,
Yes.
relatively speaking, in businesses. It went from a YouTube channel view to brick and mortar in 2 years, 2.5 years.
Right.
That's wild, man. Good for y'all. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So now you said you opened up the store Black Friday, so that was November. So just a few months in now,
Right.
what has that experience been like now that you got this beautiful store?
Thank you. It's a headache. It's fun. Again,
Is it too much fragrance that's giving you the headache?
no. No, it's been fun. It's definitely been a blessing, and there's no complaints. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Definitely. The past 2.5, 3 months, there's a lot I've learned. There's a lot more to the business side than I thought.
Yeah.
The government loves taxes.
Yeah.
Seems like every time I turn around.
Yeah.
But can honestly say it's been a fun ride. It's had its ups and its downs, but it's had a lot more ups.
I think that's the most courageous part of small business owners. You had the product, you had the passion, what you wanted to build and everything,
Right.
but then all the business stuff is learn as you go, make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like you said, taxes. Yeah, and I'm going through it too. When I started my LLC, there was so much I didn't know.
Right.
But you learn quick, don't you?
Yeah.
And I would dare say a better education than if you went to a business school.
Absolutely.
That helps. I'm not disparaging,
Right.
going
Right.
to college. But when your feet's in the fire,
You either learn it or you don't.
yeah.
I mean, it's fun.
So any catastrophe since opening the store? I know that sounds like negative, but any like oh my goodness moment, like
Not yet.
nah, I don't want to jinx y'all.
No, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but no, not yet.
So what's the 10,000 foot view y'all have? Like, still such a very young company, fresh store. What does these next few years look like for you? What do you have in mind for goals and where you'd like to be?
Hopefully have more than one store.
Yeah.
Like
There you go.
in different parts of, DeSoto County or even outside of DeSoto County.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
To have multiple stores.
Realistically, first year goal is to make sure this one sustains and does well enough. Second year is to kind of keep growing this one. Within 5 years, we'd like to have at least 1 or 2 more stores.
So, and right now it's just you two
Oh, yeah.
in the store, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So now after that, you guys get to experience the awesome process of hiring people
Right.
Yeah.
and letting go. So let's talk about letting go, because that's a huge part as far as, in my world, being a business owner. In my field, I have to hire people in order to do what I
Right.
need to do. And my experience was at first, it's difficult letting go and trusting people. You guys thought about that at all? Like, are you one to be easy to let go, or is this going to be a challenge?
I think it'd be easy for me because I have a really easy process of trusting people.
Okay.
Like I don't have you have to lose my trust, but you immediately have it from the very beginning. So for me, it's really easy to trust people. But I've also, one of my mindsets is you trust people based off. I'm trying to think, okay, when I was running the lawn service, I had a friend of mine that worked with us, and he told me that I was probably his best boss he ever had, which, again, I'll take that compliment. But he said one thing that he appreciated with the style, kind of how I ran things, he's like, you don't put people in positions where they're going to fail. He's like, for example, his situation, he couldn't do certain aspects of the job, so I put him where his strengths were. For me, it's really easy to trust people, just because I trust them and they have to mess that trust up.
Being able to notice the strengths over the weaknesses.
Yeah.
And we say weaknesses, that we don't mean that someone's
Everybody
weak.
has a weakness.
Yeah, they just
everybody
have
has-
stronger parts.
Yes.
We'll say that.
Yes.
And that's the sign of a true leader. We're like, well, this didn't work over here, but man, you'd be great over there. And you put them, and you empower them, and then now they're comfortable and have a sense of ownership, and then you can have someone that's going to work their tail off for you.
I mean, it's just like for us. She'll tell you all the time, she's the decorative designer of this.
Okay.
But I'm kind of the back behind the scenes person.
Sure.
The books, the business aspect of it. She's the one that created the design. We both put together the product, but she has her strengths, I have mine. I have my weaknesses. Thankfully, she's strong in those where I'm weak.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I couldn't do the business part.
I can't either.
you're figuring it out though, aren't you?
Yeah.
So if you were to start hiring, what would that look like? Like, would you want to bring someone in to just run the register, or like, how does that work?
That's where it would start.
Yeah.
It would start with them running the register, and we want to keep it very family oriented. Obviously, our kids aren't old enough to run it. I mean, ultimately, that would be the plan, is to have our kids running it. But
The oldest that said she never wanted to come back.
she's been back.
Is she okay now?
Well, she don't like to come.
She don't
up
like to
here.
come,
She likes
but-
to be at the house, in bed,
Right.
doing her own thing.
And then you're gonna be like, honey, we're actually gonna pay you to go there now.
She'll love to come.
Okay.
Right.
But she's still got several years.
Yeah. Middle school's what, 12, 13?
Yeah, she'll be 13 this year, so
And,
she's still got a while.
Was it 16?
I believe so.
16 years old.
At that point, we'll start leaving her here, and we can start going on vacation.
There you go.
Just run the store while we're gone.
Yeah, right.
And that's a big part of it too, being entrepreneurs and small business owners. You never get a break.
Never.
So scaling up can kind of force you, because now you're hiring people
Right.
and you're shoring it up, that eventually you guys are going to be like, all right, we get to go somewhere for a week, you know, and try not to get on the phone every 10 seconds to check in.
That's going to be an adjustment for me.
Yeah,
That's going to be an adjustment for me. Like, I don't micromanage, but I still like to know what's going on.
yeah. So DeSoto County residents, Walls, Horn Lake, but now how long, actually, let's start here. How long have you been living in Hernando now?
Right at 3 years.
3 years. And what made you want to move here?
The schools.
Yeah.
Having 4 kids and all of our kids being in schools, we had to go where there's a good education.
That's why I'm here too. But I love the city, so
Right.
let's get into that. Like, what has Hernando felt like for y'all? Like, what does it mean to you?
Very welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and
ha-
I like the small town feel.
Yes.
I mean, it's very busy, but it still has that
Yeah.
small town feel. Like you don't feel like you're in a busy city.
Yep.
And everybody likes to see others succeed too. It's one of those, like where we're at, a lot of the neighbors are great, and they just go the extra mile for everybody. We're in a place where you don't have to ask people for assistance because they're already assisting without having to ask. It's very family friend oriented. A lot of the friends treat you like family. Like like you said, it's really busy. It's a small town, but it's not. But it has that small town feel.
Like I said, there's over 100 small businesses in this small area that are all supported.
Right.
So that adds that busyness. People are out here shopping. People are out here supporting.
Right.
And when I first moved here, I'd come to Hernando a lot over the years. But when I finally lived here, and you start feeling what the local feels like, I'm like, this is so unique.
Right.
And that's what really wanted me to start this podcast and everything, because it's so different
It is.
than any other area, especially in this county and really anywhere else, you
Right.
know. So, and I'm sure a lot of people are happy y'all are here. You know, it smells amazing in here.
Thank you.
So please come check it out. Again, tell us where you're located.
We're at 3016 Highway 51 South. We're in Suite 101. We're right next to J&J gas station, right before Conger Park.
Yep, easy to find, nice big sign. So look, awesome meeting y'all. Thanks so much for letting me come into your store and,
Yes, sir.
and
Thank
interview
you.
and pepper you with these questions.
Appreciate you.
You guys did
coming in.
awesome. I know
Thank
you guys
you.
are nervous on the front end. You guys crushed it.
Thank you.
Nicely done. In closing, I want to send a message to our listeners and viewers to please share this episode with someone that might be interested in not only listening to someone's story about how they started their business, but they're just, in this case, a married couple and family business. So please share this. Where you can find this episode and the podcast as a whole is you can go to our website, therealhernando.com. There you can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, everywhere that you would find podcasts. And also our social media. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, both at The Real Hernando. Bre, Jeremy, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't burn your
Y'all
hand.
take care.